your career, business, life, and relationships. This is the Growth to Freedom Show. Now, here is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps give you transformation, inspiration, and leadership. Thanks for making us part of your day. We've got an incredible show today that I'm just so excited. Can you ever meet people that come to you and they have a dramatic influence on the course of your life? Well, today's guest is certainly someone who's done that for me and literally millions of other people all over the globe. I got a chance to meet this gentleman through a friend of mine, Chris Atwood, who's the author, best-selling author of the book with his ex-wife, Janet Atwood, called The Passion Test. And Chris is one of those super connectors that has opened so many doors. I'm so grateful for what Chris has been able to do. But the gentleman you're going to get a chance to meet, the reason I have affinity with him is he was in the fitness industry, which I came from. That was my first company back, if you can believe it, in 1992. And he built from scratch to over a couple $1 million in 2.5 short years, but it wasn't always easy for him. And he's a gentleman who helps people get closer to their goal of financial freedom. He's the best-selling author of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, author of Speed Wealth. You can learn more about him at harveker.com. He's the founder of Harv Eker International. And I got a chance to interview him not too long ago, and what I decided to do, because the principles he shares are just as true today as when we had a chance to do this sit-down interview and talk about the concepts from the best-selling book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Because here's the question. Are you at a place where you want to go to the next level? Maybe you want to learn how to tap into the inner game of wealth, or do you realize you have a money blueprint and a money set point? You know, some people seem to be able to go at it and be able to build true wealth while others seem to struggle. I mean, what is it? Is it their education? Is it their background? What is it exactly? Well, in this interview, you're going to get a chance to get a taste of that. So check out this excerpt in our interview with T. Harv Eker.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Well, it's a privilege and an honor. I'd love to be able to jump right into it. I know that, you went from broke to millionaire in less than 3 years. Tell us what is it you did?
Well, if we can have a second here, we can start from the beginning. When I was born, no, I'm not kidding. My parents are actually European immigrants, and they came to North America with literally $30 in savings and borrowed money from Europe, and the clothes on their back. They didn't even have suitcases, nothing. And they hid this $30 in a half of a French loaf of bread that was all moldy and stale so that nobody could steal it. and they didn't eat for the 3 weeks of the boat trip either. And so they came with nothing, as they said, and when I grew up, of course, we'll be talking about how our parents and guardians, basically, how they had an influence in how we handle money. But when I grew up, I, felt that money meant what? Survival, of course, right? So
sure.
For me, all my friends wanted to be firemen and baseball players, and I just wanted to be a rich person. I just wanted to be a millionaire because I knew that's how you had to live, basically. And I even left school after the first year of college in order to, for my quest for the holy grail of financial elements, and because it wasn't going fast enough. So I left school, and for the next 12 years, Dan, I did nothing but struggle. Frustration after frustration. I had 14 jobs, 12 different businesses looking for the vehicle that could help me make my million.
Well, wait a second.
Finally,
I want to stop you right there, Harv. 14 jobs, because I know there's got to be a lot of different types of people listening today. You had 14 jobs and how many businesses?
12 different businesses.
12 different businesses. And then what happened?
Well, again, I was looking for the right vehicle, right? I thought it would be this, and then this didn't work out, so I tried to be that. It was like the Loch Ness Monster syndrome. I had heard of this thing called profit. I just never saw any of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so finally, I made my $1 million in the fitness business, and I made it in 2.5 years. And again, starting with virtually very little. And guess what happened 2 years after that? I had lost it all. I had nothing left. Again, I didn't go bankrupt or anything. I just didn't have any more money left. And when I looked at my bank statement, it was the exact amount of money, almost to the penny, that I had started with. And I looked back in my bank passbook, and I noticed that this amount of money I kept coming back to this exact same amount of money every single time over the last 12 years. And so then, because I was in the fitness business, I recognize this thing called a set point. And when it comes to we have a set point when it comes to our weight, a point where our body is comfortable. And you know what I mean by a set point, a metabolic set point?
Right.
Yeah, most people realize we have a set point when it comes to our weight. And then I realized that we must have a set point also when it comes to our money, and that I was looking at mine. And so I was very involved in personal development at the time because I had a newborn child, and I didn't want to keep the cycle of criticism going that I had placed on me when I was a child from my dad, who did the best he could but just didn't know how to parent real well. And so I wanted to recondition my patterns, recondition my mind around parenting and whatnot, and who I was as a person. And so I began using these specific reconditioning technologies and strategies on money. And my own money, what we call money blueprint, and man, did they ever work. And all I can tell you is that now I'm a multi-millionaire several times over. I don't have the up and down yo-yo effect that I used to have. And by the way, I got that from my dad. And then to a point now to where I had said when I was basically broke and frustrated, I looked up to the heavens, and I don't pray a lot, but I prayed that time, and I said, God, help me. If somehow I make it, I swear that I will help people create wealth and do well financially in the same way that I did it, and I promise I will do that. And that's what I'm doing now. So I've helped over 250,000 people over the last 10 years completely revise the way they think and act around money.
And I know I've certainly had a chance to learn from you as well. Certainly that's been a privilege and an honor. I know many experts out there rave about what you've been able to do. For example, this is the most powerful, persuasive, and practical book on becoming wealthy you'll ever read. It is loaded with ideas, insights, and strategies that will change your thinking and your results forever. That from probably one of the greatest sales trainers in the world, Brian Tracy, author of Getting Rich Your Own Way. And I mean, there's countless. I know you have file cabinets full of testimonials. I've seen them at the events that you've hosted of people and all the great things that have happened, called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. What is a millionaire mind?
Well, millionaire mind is simply the way that you think and act around money. And on the back cover of the book it says, "Give me 5 minutes with anyone, and I can predict your financial future for the rest of your life." How? By identifying your money blueprint. Each of us has a personal money blueprint, or in this case, set point, preset and lodged in our subconscious, already ingrained in our subconscious mind. And then it is this blueprint, more than anything and everything else, all combined, that will determine your financial life. What your listeners need to know right now is that you can be the best at business. You can be everything. You know everything about sales, about marketing, about negotiations, about administration, operations, management, communication, numbers, accounting, all of it. You can know everything about every strategy of real estate. You can know every element and every technology for the stock market. You can be the absolute best and total expert at your job. But if your subconscious money blueprint is not preset for a high level of success, you will never, I repeat, never amass a lot of money. And if by some chance you do, you'll end up losing it either quickly or eventually.
You talk about being able to share with people how they can, in 5 minutes, be able to adjust their financial thermostat. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically what I was saying was that you have a money blueprint, and it's either set for success, for mediocrity, for struggle, or for failure, for spending, or for saving, whatever that is. And of course, it's something that we have to identify. But let me give you a quick example, if it's okay, of this set point in action. That's
Absolutely.
Where we left off, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was whereby you have a guy named Donald Trump. I think a few people have heard of him recently.
Right.
Multi-billionaire, loses everything and more. 2 years later, he's got it all back and more. Why? His money blueprint is set for high. On the other side of the coin, we've got lottery winners. They win 5, 10, 50, $100 million. 5 years later, a full 50% of them are right back to where they started. Why? Their money blueprint is set for low levels of success. Now, the big question is, you have to understand is, how did you get your money blueprint? Where does it come from? And is it really you? And that's the whole thing that we work on in the book and in the seminars. And so the point is this, that what people don't realize is that we are conditioned. We are taught how to do money, and we're taught in several ways. We are taught by verbal programming. What did you hear when you were young? We're taught by modeling. What did you see when you were young? What did your parents do? What were they like? And by specific incidents. What experience did you have around money, wealth, success, and rich people when you were young? I mean, and so what occurs then is that we get taught by our parents and so on and so forth, how they are, what their beliefs are around money, and those beliefs, so we get our parents' beliefs and issues and the way they handle money or don't handle it ingrained into us. We just model it, and we think that this is the way we are. And what happens then is that, our mind is nothing more than a storage cabinet, just a file box, very similar to the file cabinet you'd have in your home or in your office, and it has files of information stored in it. Now, the information that we get around money is stored in specific file folders and goes into this file cabinet for use later on. And this is how we make our decisions. So it's not like you have files that are good or bad or right or wrong. They're just either supportive or not supportive towards wealth.
Right.
And I want to say right now to all the listeners, I'm not saying that you have to be rich to enjoy your life. I'm not saying that you should be rich, but I am saying that if you want to be rich, you will need to think like rich people think. And that is very different than the way most people think. And in the second part of the book, there's actually 17 very specific ways rich people think very differently than the average person.
Different than the average person. I mean, maybe you're doing great right now and you want to go to the next level, or maybe you're not doing well. And guess what? Regardless, if you want to go to another level, you've got to change the blueprint. And what would it be worth to be able to change that blueprint? What would it be worth to be able to master the inner game of wealth? And it's not as hard as you and I have been led to believe, because we've been conditioned, like Harv was talking about, what we have heard, what we see, what we've experienced. And what does that look like? Is that the picture of true wealth, opulence, abundance, and prosperity? Or is it more in a scarcity mindset? Is it scarcity or abundance? And I know for most of my life, I've probably spent more time on the scarcity side than the abundance side. And when we can shift the blueprint and shift the schema, if you will, of what that blueprint looks like, there's no limit to what we can achieve. And I want that for you. You deserve the very best. There's a winner inside of you with wealth. The idea that money doesn't buy happiness, that's BS, right? And at the end of the day, what matters is what you do, what you take action with. So when we come back, we're going to talk about more secrets of the millionaire mind. We're going to talk how to adjust the money blueprint. We're going to talk about some of those 17 strategies that Harv's been talking about. That and a whole lot more on growthtofreedom.com. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. All right, let's give you a quick summary of the first segment of the show. This excerpt is an interview that Harv Eker and I had done some time ago. It was an incredible sit-down opportunity to talk about the concepts from the secrets of the millionaire mind. Harv has been able to impact, inspire, and coach over 1.5 million people, talking about adjusting the money blueprint, talking about resetting your set point for money, and a whole lot more. And, here's the thing. One thing I failed to mention is we've got a special resource package that we're going to make available today, exclusive to the show for the first 15 responders, first 15 callers. You're not going to want to miss that. That'll be coming up here right around the corner. But before we do, let's go ahead and jump back in to another excerpt from this incredible interview with Harv Eker. One of the things that I heard you mention at one of your events and in the book as well is you say that people are exactly like their parents as far as money, or they're the exact opposite of their parents. Talk about that a little bit.
That's the modeling portion right there. So what were your parents like when you were growing up? Were they good money managers or poor money managers? Were they spenders or were they savers? Or were they avoiders? Was money a big secret when you were growing up? As a taboo subject, hidden under the table. Oh, you don't talk about money. Did they work for themselves or were they corporate people? Did they invest in real estate or in stocks? Generally, people, you're going to be identical to one or both of your parents in a combination in the arena of money. I was just speaking with somebody, one of our students, and the biggest thing for them is that their parents grew up in the Depression era. And so, when your parents grew up in the Depression, you're either going to be a hoarder, right? You're going to save every dime and not spend a cent because you think, oh my God, it could go any day. Or you're going to be a spender, which is, hey, there's no use of keeping it anyways. It's going to be taken from you, so you might as well blow it and have a good time. Or you're going to be a total a risk-averse person because, you never know when your next dollar is going to be there. So, based on where you grew up and the way your parents were, again, they are going to ingrain their issues and their beliefs around money into you, consciously or unconsciously, and then you are going to live them out. And here's the interesting thing, Dan, is that it seems the files in your file box seem to make perfect sense to you. And I'll give you a good example. One of the graduates of our Millionaire Mind Intensive, the 3-day where we actually changed people's blueprints right that weekend, is here's this person. So for example, she's going into the mall. She sees a green purse, and she in her mind goes, "Wow, I've needed a green purse to go with those green shoes that I bought last week." Then she sees a sign on it that says 25% off. Well, that clinches it right there. In her mind, it makes perfect sense to buy it. She buys it, and she comes back. She's thrilled. She's proud of herself. She got the green purse she needed, and she's 25% off. What a coup. Fantastic. See, but there's no file in her mind files that says, yes, but I'm already $3,000 in debt right now. Maybe I should hold off. You see, that file is MIA. It's missing in action. There's no file like that because probably from her upbringing, if you needed something and you wanted it, then you got it. If it made sense, you got it. But her parents might have been full of debt all the time, or she could be the opposite. In this particular case, she was a woman who her parents were extremely stingy, right? They always camped everywhere. They never would stay in a hotel. She was embarrassed to get out of the car from when they drove her to school because they drove a beat up jalopy and she had to wear old clothes. So what happened? She went the opposite route, you see, and became a spender in order to prove to herself and everybody else that she could have what she want and she's not going to live by those rules anymore. And she began overspending. So again, one of the things we were able to do for her is show her our money management system, which is so easy. A 5-year-old could do it. It's fun, it's exciting, it's balanced. It allows you to spend a whole bunch of money and still invest very, very smartly at the same time. And so now she is beautifully balanced. She literally, when she came to us literally 3 years ago, she was ready to go bankrupt, and now she owns 5 investment properties. She earns 10 times what she was earning already before, because when you start handling your money properly, more will come to you. And this is the kind of thing that we're able to do for people on the inside, and then it reflects on the outside.
So as the old adage goes, perception truly is reality with the financial thermostat number 1. In addition, when we really stop and think about it, some of the lies we were taught as kids, money doesn't grow on trees. It takes money to make money. A lot of these subconscious things that have been built in our system are things that you're really going to help people realize, number 1, and number 2, show them steps of how to readjust that thermostat to be able to live a life of prosperity, wealth, and abundance.
Well, you better, because otherwise you're living in a bunch of myths. The things you've been saying are people, when I'm in my seminars and I say, give me some of the things you heard when you were young, it's all that you've said. Money's the root of all evil. Money corrupts people. Rich people are greedy. Money doesn't buy happiness. You have to work hard to make money. Are any of these things supportive to creating wealth? I don't
No.
think so. Look, it's not about, there's no such thing as true or false. It's whether it's supportive or not supportive. And the fact is that most of these are, I hate to say it, complete BS. These sayings are propagated by people who are justifying the fact that they are broke, that they have no money, okay? First of all, the money is the root of all evil. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil, meaning that money beyond all else, if that's your God, then that's a problem. Anybody who looks at this intelligently is going to tell you that, but that's not what we heard. We heard money's the root of all evil. That's what gets into our subconscious mind. 2 weeks ago, I had this fellow stand up in my seminar. He goes, Harv, I was always told, and I fully believe that money corrupts people. I understand that. That's true. There's nothing you can say that's going to make a difference. I said, I understand. It's okay. I'm not here to make a difference if you don't want me to, except for one thing. Money corrupts people, my friend. Let me say this the opposite. I say you got the right words in the wrong order. I think it's people who corrupt money. Okay? Money, right now you're talking about some paper bills and some coin. You don't say that wallpaper corrupts people. You don't say that Post-it notes corrupt people. Why does money corrupt people?
Right.
No, the fact is that it's people who corrupt money. Money is just an exchange, a convenient method for exchanging value. That's all it is. It saves me from having to drag my cows around for your hats or your vegetables, okay? And so it makes it an easy way of exchanging value. That's all money is. Everything else is what people put on it. And each person will put on their own, quote-unquote, issues and stuff on it. So if you are a person who can be corrupted easily, then money will corrupt you, and so will women, and so will men, and so will a light bulb, okay? If you are a person who is a high-integrity person, money's not going to corrupt you. Money's going to be a tool you can use to help other people with.
Help other people with. And you know what? It's amazing, because if you really look at, our value exchange system in money, right? A dollar bill and $100 bill. They both weigh the same. They're printed with the exact same ink, right? They're the exact same size. And the only difference between the two bills is the message on the paper. And so what is your message? I believe inside all of us, there's this desire to make a contribution, to have a bigger impact, like Harv's been talking about. And we want to show you how to do just that. In fact, I promised you a resource package as part of our show today. And here's a question. Do you want to make a bigger impact? Do you want to have the ability to go out and make a bigger contribution, to connect, to collaborate? Well, guess what? I believe there are 5 skills to greatness. And Harv's been talking a lot about those today. 5 skills to greatness: influence, marketing, productivity, emotional mastery, and the ability to hire or recruit. So 5 core skills. We put together this mastery program for you today, and you can pick it up right now. It's yours free, valued at over $200, by picking up the phone right now and calling 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389, or go to the site at growthtofreedom.com/mastery. That's growthtofreedom.com/mastery. We'll be right back with Harv Eker on growthtofreedom.com right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Boy, howdy. Man, what a show up to this point. In fact, I want to give you a chance to get that resource package one more time, valued over $200. Covers the 5 core skill sets, the Growth to Freedom Mastery Program. You can pick up the phone right now. Call 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389. Now, you want to learn more about building the inner game of wealth, resetting the money blueprint, resetting your set point around money, that and a whole lot more? Well, check this out from Harv Eker in our interview. Harv, I heard you talk about the idea at one of your seminars not too long ago, about the idea that the roots you have, your belief systems, your attitudes, really determine your fruits. And of course, success certainly leaves clues. Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Before we do that, though, I want to rag on your listeners first.
Okay.
No, one of the things that we do is we have to understand is that anything can be a big teacher for us. So, you were saying that people should call in and then they can win one of the books. And I want the listeners to hear this. The question I have for you is this: did you call in? Did you call in? And if you didn't, what was your rationale for not calling in? Now, I'm going to put it to you. Whatever rationale you use for not calling in is the rationale you use to stop yourself with everything else that could make you successful. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, for example, some people said, I'm never going to win. What's the use? And that's your whole life right there. They're the same we use in our seminars, and that's in the book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It says, how you do anything is how you do everything. I'll repeat it. How you do anything is how you do everything. So how you even decide whether you're going to make this phone call or not is how you make your decisions normally. So someone says, I'm never going to win. That's your life. That's what you normally do. An opportunity comes your way. It's not going to work for me. I'm never going to. It's for other people, right? How about the people who said, it's too inconvenient. I'm over here. I'm laying on the couch. Or I'm too busy. That's the one you use all the time. Or, hey, you know what? That's too good to be true. I don't know. There's got to be some catch. That's your decision-making process. Now, here's the issue. That's what's in the files of your head, and you bring those files to every single opportunity in front of you. And what we want to do is we want to install some new choices for you, some new files, so that you're saying, instead of saying, I'll never win, it's like, well, in the past I haven't won, but there's always tomorrow, there's always right now. You can't win if you don't try. And you say, okay, well, what does it hurt to try, that kind of thing. So I want to make sure that not only do your people call in, because that's one thing, but they recognize why they might not. What stopped them from calling in? Because that stops them everywhere. But you know what, Dan? There's 2 kinds of habits. There's doing habits, and just as importantly, there's not doing habits. And everything everything you're not doing right now, you're in the habit of not doing it. So there's no reason for me to tell you how to do something, go home and do it. You're not going to do it. Just like when people watch, some great people like Susie Orman or David Bach or anybody else teaching them on, they read a book on money management. They go, wow, you know what? I'm going to start managing my money first thing Monday morning, right? What happens? nothing.
Exactly.
Why? Because you're habitually don't do that. And so what we work with the inner blueprint, with the files of your mind, so that your new habits, it's natural and automatic. It's the path of least resistance for you to do things in a way that's supportive towards creating success and wealth, than not supportive, and it might be in your old ways. We'll give you some new files that you can choose from, and they'll become your normal and natural ways of thinking. We've changed the lives of 250,000 people so far from all across the world, and we don't even advertise. Again, one person comes from England, and a year later there's 150 from England, because they tell everybody that they know. And so we do it so well that you're going to come in with one blueprint, literally going to walk in with a whole other blueprint. It's fun, it's exciting, it's a blast, and people say this is like the Woodstock of personal and financial development. It's an experiential process that it has to be experienced again to in order to work in its fullest capacity. So the book is a great start.
Harv, talking about attitude, being able to determine someone's success, more important than a job when it comes to achieving wealth. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, again, that goes back to your blueprint. Remember, wealth is a result, right? We want the result of wealth, yes? The result of success.
Exactly.
And so what creates our results? Well, there's a formula that says your thoughts lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, which lead to your results. So your results are predicated on your actions, and they are predicated on your thoughts. So that's why your attitude, I have the most, skeptical people who, on radio shows or TV shows, they really want to nail me for some reason, but that's who they are, and that's what they do for a living. And they say, oh, this hokey-pokey stuff, this inner crap, who needs it? If you understand the stock market, you know a good system. If you understand real estate, how to buy and how to sell, you're going to get rich. I go, really? Is that right? How many people buy stocks and do well, and then they go broke? How many people buy real estate? They've amassed a fortune, $10 million, and then they go through a divorce and a breakup in their marriage, and their company goes bankrupt or something like that. What happens? See, it's one thing is to make it, and it's a whole other world to keep it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's a whole other world to grow it. And you know what? That can only happen when someone like myself has gone through it and is able to share with people their experience of it. As again, I said, I vowed that I would help people if I ever made it, and now thank God I have. And but I believe, like it says in the book, if you're going to learn something, if you're going to learn how to play golf, you should learn from someone who's a pro golfer, someone who's a great, Tiger Woods if possible. If you're going to learn how to play piano, learn from a wonderful, a tremendous piano player, not just a person who talks about it. If you're going to learn about money and success and whether this stuff works or not, learn from someone who's been there and done that. This is the way I did it, through the inner game, through the way I now, people say, Harv, you have the Midas touch. And I go, no, I don't have the Midas touch. I reconditioned my own mind, my subconscious mind, to create naturally and automatically create success. It's the path of least resistance. It's the normal way that I think. It's the normal way that Donald Trump thinks. All right? And I want to make sure that for your listeners, the normal way that they think, what makes perfect and logical sense for them in each opportunity that comes their way is going to lead to success. And that's what Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is all about.
And that's what it's all about for you. We want to help shift the conversation so that it's normal for you too. You deserve it, don't you? Right? Well, that's what it's all about. And so all I know is when we come back, we're going to talk about more strategies on building wealth, adjusting your money blueprint, the set point, that and a whole lot more with Harv Eker on growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Boy, what kind of power would you have understanding the secrets that Harv's been talking about with the secret of the millionaire mind, right? I mean, imagine what it would do for you, the freedom it would give you, the opportunity to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, right? To be able to, travel, to be able to build a business that you can be proud of, the ability to go out and have connections, contribute, influence, impact, right? I mean, think about it. The ability to have certainty, confidence, courage, the ability to go out there and, be adventurous, to be significant, to make the impact that you are destined to be able to do, to be living in mastery. I mean, think about that. I mean, who would you be at your very best? I mean, that's really what it comes down to, what we're talking about today. And that's what's so exciting about being able to bring the strategies and wisdom that we're sharing with you. And I want to challenge you. Most importantly, one of my favorite movies is a movie called The Bronx Tale. And there's a quote in that movie that says, "There's nothing worse than wasted talent. You know what? I want to shake you up a little bit. Dust it off and go, you know what? You deserve the best. You're a winner. You're a champion. And you know what? You are. So let's dive back into the interview with Harv Eker right now. 17 success principles, wealth principles, if you will, that you have outlined in your book. There's a couple that really stand out that I think a lot of our listeners would get a lot from, and you can feel free to jump in. But one of the things you say is rich people play the money game to win, and poor people, on the other hand, play not to lose. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Most people actually play the money game on defense versus offense. Their big goal is survival and security. Their intention is to have enough to pay the bills. On time would be a miracle. And you know what? Due to the power of intention, that's exactly what they get, and usually not a dime more. Then, of course, you have other people, and their big intention is to earn a decent living. Or middle classes people, they just want to be comfortable, right? That's their favorite word in the whole wide world. They just want to be comfortable. Let me say this nice and loud. Comfortable does not lead to rich. Earning a living does not lead to rich. Paying the bills and even on time does not lead to rich. All those things and rich are worlds apart, all right? You have to do completely different things to play baseball in the kiddie park, and completely different things to play baseball in the major leagues and be the home run slugger, okay? They're different worlds completely. And so most people, their big intentions are very, very small. They don't even shoot for the ceiling in their house, and they wonder what's going on. Whereas what I want people to do is I want them to shoot for the stars. There's a saying that says, if you shoot for the stars, you're at least going to hit the moon. And again, most people don't shoot for their forehead, and they play so small. They play small because they believe they don't make a difference. They believe that they don't count. And let me say this right now. I have to have people understand this. Is that people ask me, okay, it's T. Harv Eker. What does the T stand for? Well, I told you, there was a time in my life where I was extremely frustrated financially. And that led to me being frustrated with who I was, what I was all about, what I even here for, what a difference do I make. And I felt so bad about myself. I was so despondent. Finally, a friend of mine who was doing very well, he said, Harv, he kicked me in the butt. He says, quit feeling so sorry for yourself. He says, you have to remember something. He says, you are the one and only Harv Eker that ever was and ever will be, and you have a job to do on this planet, and you better start doing it. You got to make your mark while you still have. There's nobody that's been before you, nobody after you that can do what you do in the way you do it. Whatever that is, you have to find it and start doing it. And I put a T in front of my name to remind myself that I'm the one and only Harv Eker, and I better start acting like it. And it's the same with every one of your listeners. You have a job to do here. You have a mission to fulfill, and it may be big or it may be small, but I'm going to say this. One of the things we teach in our programs is that the definition of an entrepreneur or a business person or even a person in a job is a person who solves problems for people at a profit or for pay, okay? And if you're not solving problems for people, you ain't getting any money. It's as simple as that. So your job is to play bigger. Your job is to solve more problems for more people. If you're now having 10 customers a day in whatever you're doing, you've got to have 100 customers a day. If you're in a job and you have a position where you help your company in one way, you've got to upgrade your job to where you can help your company in a much more fulfilling way, in a much more beneficial way, in a much more responsible way, and take on more responsibility. You'll get paid more. And that's the thing. People want to stay small because they're afraid, oh my God, if I try to get big, I'm going to have all these problems. And of course, that's another one of the principles. One of the principles is that rich people are bigger than their problems, and poor and unsuccessful people are smaller than their problems. You know what, Dan? It's not the size of your problem that matters. It's the size of you that matters in relation to that problem. Because people will have, let's say, a level 5 problem, but they'll be a level 2 person, and that's a big problem. But if they work on themselves, and they grow themselves in character to become a level 7 or 8 person, that same level 5 problem is now a small problem. And if they work with us and they grow themselves to be a level 10 person, that same problem is no problem. They don't even register. It doesn't register in their head as a problem. It's just another thing on their to-do list. I think there's no issue around it. And so it's not the size of the problem, it's the size of you. And that's why you have to keep on learning. That's why you have to keep on growing. That's why I acknowledge you for listening to a program like this, because there's a scientific fact that if you're not growing, you're automatically dying. You know, any living species. If you're not sure of that, check your plant at home or your flower in your garden. If your plant isn't growing, what's it doing? It's dying. And it's the same with any living organism, including us. And you cannot stay in that comfort zone, because if you're in a comfort zone, I guarantee you're going down, not up.
Right.
All right? And so another one of the principles, I challenge people to get uncomfortable. Uncomfort is good, all right? It's good because it's the only time you're growing. And when do you feel best, Dan? When do you think people feel best? When they're productive and growing? Do they feel best and happiest? Or when they're unproductive and stagnant?
Productive
Which one
and growing.
feels better for people?
Productive and growing, no doubt about it.
I think so. Most people, no matter how comfortable they want to be, they know they feel like garbage, like trash, if they've spent the last 8 hours in front of the boob tube and kind of, drinking a few beers and just kind of lazed out there. Nobody feels good about that. And they may be dulled out a little bit, but they don't feel good and proud of themselves around it. Yet if they've gone out there and they've learned something, they've done something to help some other people, they can feel good about that. And you know what? That brings me to another point, if you don't mind me mentioning this, because people say, well, Harv, you seem like such a big proponent for riches and wealth and all that. Yes, I am a cheerleader for rich people, for sure, because all these myths about rich people are greedy and rich people are evil, that's a bunch of crap.
I agree.
That's ridiculous. And the people who propagated those myths are broke people who have to bring down other people, and they'll bring them down another way. It's like the people who are, who say, that the baseball players are no good, or the hockey players or the football, the professionals are, they earn too much money. All that. They got to bring them down in some way to try to bring them back to their level. Come on, let's face it. And so there's several reasons for becoming rich, and the first one, of course, is obvious, and that's for your own wealth and your family's lifestyle, that kind of thing. And you want to have a nice lifestyle. You only go around once, at least, that you're going to know about, so you might as well make the best of it and enjoy some of the finer things in life. But number two, and just as importantly, is I believe this, Dan. I believe that if you have the wherewithal to get rich, it's your duty to do so. Why? So you can help the people who don't have that wherewithal. And there's a lot of people who are handicapped or have such a terrible upbringing that they really there's not even a chance that they can even take care of themselves, let alone be rich. And so if you're an able-bodied, normal-minded person, you can get rich in this country, as shown by the hundreds of thousands of immigrants who come here with no money, no language, no nothing, and a few years later they're very well to do. And so it's available to everybody. There's a story and I read in USA several weeks ago about this woman in Tanzania, in Africa. And she's got goiter. And you know what goiter is? It's when have you ever seen people with a thyroid problem with the throat that's like 10 times the size of a huge throat, right?
Yep.
And you know what? Goiter can be corrected with a 10-minute operation anywhere in the world. And the only thing about Tanzania is that they do have medical help there, but it's a pay-for-play deal. In other words, it costs $31 to have this 10-minute goiter operation. Dan, listen to this. She's been saving for 5 years, and she's got $21.
Wow.
$21. And 2 times a week she doesn't eat so that she can put her few pennies away. In 5 years, $21. So you say, well, someone just send her the stupid $10. Guess what? There's millions of people in this position. And why is it always up to somebody else to help? What about you? You know what? If you have the wherewithal to create success, you do it not just for yourself, but for other people, to be able to give to charity, be able to go to Tanzania yourself and give her the money yourself, okay? And then see what's going on there. And take a few $1 million with you in cash or traveler's checks and give them away to people and bring clothes with you and things like that. So that's it. And then the third reason to get rich is, who do you have to become as a person, as a character, in order to be a millionaire, in order to be a rich person?
And I know with that in mind,
Harv,
I know that, we could go on and on. I wish we had another 2 hours on our program today to be able to cover all the principles and all the wealth of knowledge in your book and that you've got in your head. And I know that we've got to end the show here in just a moment. I know it's been a privilege and an absolute honor to have you with us here today. What would you say, if there was one last thing you could end with today, what would be the one secret in 30 seconds or less that you would love to share with our audience?
You got to do what it takes. You got to learn. One of the things I say in the book is one of my quotes is, every master was once a disaster. You got to start somewhere. I would suggest, I wrote the book for a very specific reason, to expose this work to people. If you don't reset your blueprint, you are doomed to stay where you are, unfortunately. You must get the book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It's available online or in bookstores. Then from there, your life will be transformed. You'll be completely different, not just in money, but in happiness and inner peace, in your relationships, and even in your weight. All I can tell you is 250,000 people have gone this route, and success is a natural tendency for them.
And Harv, I appreciate you being on with us today. I hope we can do this again real soon.
I hope so too. It was awesome being with you.
Thank you, sir. And I want to challenge you, go get Harv's book. You can go to harveker.com. That's harveker.com. Or go right on Amazon. You can order it there. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And, as I think about that time, I want to, again, just thank Harv for being able to spend the time, have that incredible conversation. What insights did you take away from it? What action steps are you going to put in place? I mean, here's something to think about. Are you playing a big game or a small game? I want to challenge you, stop playing small, no matter where you're at. I mean, you might already be immensely successful. I want to challenge you to stretch and get uncomfortable, like Harv's been talking about, to truly go out and be your very best self. The idea of being on a mission. See, we do make a great living by solving problems. You realize that, right? And see, when you get better at the 5 main core skill sets of influence, marketing, productivity, hiring, and emotional mastery, your awareness goes up, your capabilities go up, your earning potential goes up, and you make a great living mastering those 5 things. When you learn how to package it, that's when you get exponential type growth, right? And when I teach my kids the ability to, how do you earn money? It's value creation and transformation. If you want to, Naveen Jain shared it at one of our annual events with Genius Network. If you want to build $1 billion company, solve a $10 billion problem. So you want to earn more, figure out how you can create 10 times the value overall. Because, as I've heard many mentors, including Joe Polish, mention, there's no correlation between being good and getting paid. Do you know people are frustrated that they're incredibly good at a certain solution, but they're not getting paid? Well, part of it is they don't know how to package it. In other words, they're missing one of the 5 capabilities we talk a lot about in the show, which is marketing, or being able to tell a great story about what it is that you do, or the ability to influence, or be productive, or have emotional mastery, which is a lot of what Harv's been talking. Again, I'd encourage you, go get Harv's book. Visit Harv at harveker.com. That's harveker.com. Go pick it up on Amazon. He's got some additional, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Has this been a great show? I'll tell you, I'm just incredibly, incredibly grateful. I know action steps that we can take. Identify where you're at with your money blueprint. What's your set point? Start to adjust it. Start to expand your awareness. We do become who we hang around. And one of the things we talk about in our show is, go find a mastermind, a meetup group. It may not be Genius Network, but find a group of peers that are going to challenge you to be your very best. And you know what? Time flies when we're having fun. That's our show for today. I appreciate you. And now is your time. Take action. Take the first steps. And by the way, you can get a recap of the show at growthtofreedom.com/41. That's growthtofreedom.com/41. Hit us up on email at info@growthtofreedom.com. That's info@growthtofreedom.com. You want to pick up the exclusive gift package for today, covering the 5 main core areas? You can call 602-246-3389, 602-246-3389. That's our show for the day. Make it a great week and seize the day. We'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com.
I want to know to keep on going. Gotta keep on going.